stood in the deep archive chamber of the New Horizon research facility, staring at the screen in front of him. The cold blue light made his face look pale. He had been sorting through old data storage units when he found something that made his heart stop. The storage device was labeled in ancient script, a language not many humans could read, but had spent years learning it. Inside the device was the Galactic Empire's complete database of species classifications. He scrolled through page after page of information about every known alien race. And dozens of others. Each species had detailed files listing their technology level, their military strength, their abilities, and their place in the Empire's hierarchy. Found the human file near the back. He began to read, and his anger grew with every word. The file called humanity, a primitive spacefaring species, with barely adequate military technology. It said humans were only good for colony support and simple labor. Their weapons were labeled as outdated and ineffective compared to real galactic powers. The file recommended keeping humans in low positions, never giving them advanced weapons, and always placing alien commanders in charge of any military operation involving human soldiers. Leaned back in his chair, this was not news to him. He had always known that the Empire looked down on humanity. But this document was official policy, written generations ago and never updated. He was about to close the file when something caught his eye. A new folder marked with the red symbol for classified information appeared at the bottom of the database. It had a date stamp from only 3 weeks ago. His hands shook as he opened it. What he found inside changed everything. The classified addendum was short but shocking. It detailed strange reports coming in from various Imperial outposts across the frontier. A human colony near the border had somehow repelled a military raid using only basic weapons. A human defense fleet had engaged a group of pirate ships that outnumbered them 3-1. Not only had the humans won, but they had done it using tactics that made no sense according to Imperial military doctrine. The reports asked questions. Why were humans performing at levels far beyond their supposed technological capability? Were they hiding advanced weapons? Were they receiving help from enemies of the Empire? The final line of the classified report made stand up from his chair. It read, "Request immediate investigation into possible human violation of Colonial Technology Restrictions Treaty. Recommend full military assessment before situation escalates." Knew what he had to do. He saved the files to a secure storage unit and left the archive chamber. The cold corridor of the research facility seemed even colder now. His footsteps echoed as he walked toward the military command center. He needed to speak with Commander Hayes, the military chief of the human colonial fleet. The walk took him across the main plaza of New Horizons' capital city. The sun hung low in the sky, painting everything orange and red. Around him, people went about their daily lives, completely unaware that something dangerous was happening. Had always loved New Horizon. It was a beautiful colony, built by humans who wanted to prove they could succeed in space just like any other species. Now that colony might be in trouble. Commander Hayes was working late in her office when arrived. She was a tall woman with dark hair cut short and scars on her left arm from an accident years ago. She looked up from her desk, surprised to see. She knew him well. He had advised the military on alien technology many times. She said, standing up, "What brings you here this late?" Closed the office door behind him and pulled out the storage unit. He explained what he had found in the archive. He told her about the Empire's old classification of humanity as primitive. He told her about the recent classified addendum. Commander Hayes listened without speaking, her face getting harder with each word. When finished, she sat back down and was silent for a long moment. "They think we are hiding something," she finally said. It was not a question. "Yes," replied, "and they will send someone to investigate. When they do, they will find out that we are not hiding anything. Our weapons are exactly what we say they are. Our soldiers are exactly what we claim. But we are achieving results that their computers say should be impossible." Commander Hayes stood and walked to the window. She looked out at the city lights of New Horizon. "That might scare them," she said quietly. "It will more than scare them," said. "Our tactical reports show we have won every engagement against their supposed superiors. We have disabled their technology. We have outthought their strategies. If the Empire realizes that humans can do this with basic weapons, they will see us as a threat." Commander Hayes turned back to face him. Her jaw was set and her eyes were sharp. "Then we need to control this situation before it controls us," she said. We keep this information classified on our end. We prepare our documentation carefully. We make sure everything is honest and transparent. We do not hide anything, but we do not volunteer anything either. How long do we have?" "I do not know," said. "Days maybe, weeks at most. There is a diplomatic ship heading to the imperial capital. Ambassador James Collins is aboard. When the Empire presents him with these reports and their suspicions, they will demand answers." "Then we have very little time," Commander Hayes said. She walked past toward the door. "Come with me. We need to meet with our best military strategists tonight. We need to prepare. If the Empire sends inspectors or investigators, we will show them exactly who we are. No hiding, no lies, just humans being humans." Followed her out of the office. As they walked through the corridors of the command center, he could not help but feel that something large was about to happen. Something that would change the future of the entire human race in the galaxy. The Empire had made a mistake by ignoring humanity for so long. Now they were about to discover just how big a mistake that had been, but also knew that such discoveries could end in many different ways. Some of them were good. Some of them were very The patrol ship Aurora moved quietly through the dark space near the border between human territory and the Dominion. Captain David Foster sat in the command chair, watching the scanner screens. His crew was small but skilled. 12 people total, trained to handle almost any situation. The mission was simple: check the outer settlements, look for problems, and report back. David was a man in his mid-40s with gray at the edges of his dark hair. He had been flying ships for over 20 years. He had seen combat before, but not often. Human space had been mostly peaceful since the colonies expanded outward. The Empire preferred stability. Fighting was expensive and complicated, so they had kept human ships on patrol duty, mostly to keep them busy and out of the way of real military operations. The scanner officer, Lieutenant Cole, suddenly leaned forward in his seat. "Captain, I am picking up energy signatures ahead. Multiple vessels. They are not broadcasting their ID codes." David stood up. "How far?" "Approximately 100,000 kilometers. They are moving toward the 4 trading station." David's mind raced. The 4 trading station was small but important. It supplied several human colonies with goods and equipment. An attack on it would hurt the human presence in this region badly. "Identify them," David ordered. Worked his scanner, trying to match the ship signatures to known profiles. "I am getting partial readings. The energy weapon's signature matches the..." David felt a chill run down his spine. They were known as fierce warriors across the galaxy. They had better weapons than humans, better ships, better armor, but they were far from the main territories. What were they doing here? "Raise the station," David said. "Tell them we see hostile contacts approaching. Tell them to prepare defenses." The communications officer, Ensign Rachel, sent the message. Static came back, then a voice filled with fear. "Aurora, this is 4. We see them on our scans. We are civilian traders here. We have minimal weapons. Request immediate assistance." David looked at his tactical officer, Chief Ward, had served with David for 8 years. They understood each other with just a glance. "How many enemy ships?" David asked. 4 attack vessels and 1 larger support ship, said. "Their weapons are superior to ours in almost every way. Their shields are thicker. Their engines are more powerful." David knew all of this was true. By every measure, the ships were better. A human captain trained in proper military doctrine would retreat now. He would call for backup from the main fleet and let the Empire send their real military ships to handle this problem. But David also knew something that the military databases did not seem to understand. Sometimes the choice you made in combat was more important than the weapons you had. "Set a course for the station," David said. "Best speed." "Sir," said carefully, "we cannot defeat 4 attack ships." "No," David agreed. "We cannot, but we can make them leave. We can make them decide this is not worth the fight. That is not the same thing as winning, but it is good enough." The Aurora began to accelerate. The minutes passed like hours. The distance to the trading station shrank. On the scanner, David watched the ships move into firing position around 4. They were preparing to attack the station. On the communications channel, he could hear the fear in the voices of the civilians. David opened the channel to all his crew. "This is the captain. We are going to engage. I will not lie to you. The odds are bad, but there are families on that station. There are children there. We can change what happens today. Follow my orders, trust each other, and we have a chance." The crew was silent for a moment, then said, "All weapons armed and ready, sir." David pushed the Aurora hard, every engine pushed to maximum. The ship shook. They covered the distance faster than they expected. The lead vessel had just begun firing at the station when David's ship emerged from the darkness. "Evasive pattern beta," David shouted. "Lock all weapons on the lead vessel." The Aurora's weapons opened fire. The human ship had smaller weapons, weaker energy cannons, but David knew something the commanders did not. He knew that his ships used a different targeting system than they expected. He knew that the ships had a blind spot in their shield configurations. He had studied their known technology profiles for years. He had even trained against simulations of their tactics. The first volley of human fire hit the vessel's shields at exactly the right angle. The shields flickered. The ship pulled back, surprised. In that moment, David ordered his tactical computer to execute a maneuver that no captain would have predicted. The Aurora rolled hard to the left, then accelerated upward while firing. The movement was desperate and wild. By all calculations, it should have gotten them killed. Instead, it positioned the Aurora perfectly to strike a weak point in the formation. The second human attack hit the support vessel, systems overloaded. The commander seemed shocked that a human ship could execute such tactics. David pressed the advantage hard. He ordered his weapons officer to switch targets rapidly, keeping them from establishing a stable formation. The battle was chaos, but it was controlled chaos. David knew what he was doing. Each move built on the last. Each attack forced them to respond instead of advancing their own strategy. For 12 minutes, the fight continued. The Aurora took damage. Its shields weakened. Its engines burned. But they took worse damage. Their superior weapons did not matter when they could not aim them properly. Their stronger armor meant nothing when they could not predict where the next attack would come from. Finally, one of the vessels exploded. Systems failed. The ship broke apart. The remaining commander made a decision. He ordered a retreat. The surviving ships limped away from the station, damaged and disorganized. They jumped to hyperspace, disappearing from the scanner. The battle was over. On the trading station, people cheered. On the Aurora, the crew sat in shocked silence. They had just defeated 4 attack ships, something that was supposedly impossible. Their weapons were old and weak. Their shields were inadequate, but they had won. David slumped in his command chair, exhausted. What he did not know was that the battle had been recorded. What he did not know was that every moment of the fight had been broadcast across the private communication networks of every warrior who cared to listen. What he did not know was that the Imperial Council Chamber was the largest room in the entire capital city of the Galactic Empire. Its ceiling rose 500 meters high. Its walls were covered with screens showing information from every corner of the empire. Thousands of administrators, military officers, and scholars worked in this space every single day, managing an empire that stretched across 3,000 star systems. Today, however, the normal business had stopped. An emergency session of the High Council was being held. 12 of the most powerful beings in the galaxy sat in a circle watching battle footage from the 4 incident. Ambassador James Collins sat in a lower position, forced to watch the same footage and see the expressions on the faces of the council members grow darker with each passing moment. The lead council member was Vex Solon, who had served the Empire for over 200 years. They were the founding species of the Galactic Empire, and they did not accept challenges easily. Vex Solon leaned forward as the battle footage ended. "Ambassador," he said, his voice like ice, "explain what we just witnessed." James Collins was a gray-haired man with calm eyes and the bearing of someone who had spent his life solving difficult problems. He stood slowly. The eyes of the council focused on him. "What you witnessed, council member, was a human military engagement," James said carefully. 4 attack vessels attacked a human trading station. A human patrol ship responded and prevented the attack. "We are aware of what happened," said another council member, a named who had enormous amounts of military authority. "What we want to know is how it happened. According to our records, human military technology is classified as primitive. A human patrol ship should not be capable of engaging attack vessels. Yet not only did this human ship engage them, it defeated them. 1 vessel was destroyed. The others were forced to retreat. This should not be possible." James had expected this. "If I may explain, council members, what you are seeing is not the result of hidden advanced technology. What you are seeing is the result of human tactical thinking and adaptation." Vex Solon made a harsh sound that might have been a laugh. "Tactical thinking? Ambassador, our military computers have analyzed this footage. The human captain executed maneuvers that violate established combat principles. According to our models, those maneuvers should have resulted in the destruction of the human vessel. Instead, they resulted in tactical advantage. This is impossible. It is not impossible, James said. It is simply different from how other species approach combat. Humans think about warfare in ways that are unconventional. We do not always follow the standard models because we often see solutions that the models do not predict. Are you suggesting, said slowly, that humans have been deliberately hiding technological advances from the Galactic Empire? No, James said firmly. I am suggesting that humans are not hiding anything. Our weapons are exactly as reported. Our technology levels are exactly as classified. What you are seeing is human capability applied to those weapons and technology in creative ways. The council members began speaking rapidly to each other in languages James could not understand. The tension in the room grew heavier. Finally, Vex Solon spoke again. Ambassador, our intelligence indicates that this is not an isolated incident. We have received reports from at least a dozen different outposts over the past 6 weeks. In every case, human forces have engaged alien troops that should have been vastly superior. In every case, humans have achieved tactical victories. Either humans possess advanced weapons in violation of the Colonial Technology Restrictions Treaty, or humans are a threat we have badly underestimated. Both possibilities are unacceptable to the Council. James felt his chest tight. This was worse than he had feared. Council members, I assure you that humans have not violated any agreements. Our weapons are standard colonial-grade equipment. What I can tell you is that humans have a different psychology when it comes to conflict. We come from a harsh world. Our history is filled with struggles for survival. This shaped how we think. When we face an opponent that seems superior, we do not simply calculate odds and retreat. We look for solutions. We adapt. We refuse to accept defeat even when it seems certain. A female council member spoke for the first time. Her name was Shen, and she represented the scientific faction of the council. This is fascinating, she said. If the ambassador is correct, then humans represent a psychological profile that is extremely rare among advanced species. Most species at the human technology level accept limitations. They plan carefully. They avoid unnecessary risk. Yet humans appear to engage in what we would call reckless behavior, yet somehow succeed in their objectives. It could be seen as recklessness, James agreed. Or it could be seen as courage or determination. Among humans, we call it refusing to give up. It is part of our nature. Your nature is either going to make humanity a valuable asset, said coldly, or a threat that must be contained. The Council will decide which. We are sending a military inspection team to human space. They will evaluate human military capabilities directly. They will observe human combat training and tactics. Based on their report, the Council will decide how to proceed with human colonial status. Vex Solon nodded. You will cooperate fully with this inspection, Ambassador. Any resistance will be considered evidence of treaty violation. When will this inspection team arrive? James asked. They are already en route, Vex Solon said. They will arrive at your primary world within 5 days. You have that time to prepare. I suggest you use it well. The future of the entire human colonial program depends on what we discover. James felt the weight of that statement settle on his shoulders. He bowed to the council and turned to leave the chamber. As he walked out, his mind raced with calculations. 5 days. He had 5 days to prepare humanity for the most important evaluation in their entire history in space. If they passed, humanity might gain real respect and better status. If they failed, the Empire might decide that humans were too unpredictable, too dangerous, and needed to be controlled or even eliminated. As he exited the council chamber and walked into the corridor, James opened his personal communication device and sent a message back to Commander Hayes on New Horizon. The message was simple. They are coming. Be ready. Commander Hayes stood on the observation platform of the New Horizon military base, watching the inspection team's ship descend through the atmosphere. The vessel was a military cruiser, sleek and intimidating. It landed with barely a sound, its advanced stabilization systems making the descent smooth and controlled. A ramp lowered, and a group of military officers emerged. At the front was Admiral, a tall figure with the bearing of someone who had commanded fleets and conquered worlds. His uniform was covered with medals and insignia indicating decades of military service. His face was hard, skeptical. Behind him came specialists in military technology, combat analysis, and strategic assessment. All of them looked like they were expecting to find deception. Stepped forward to greet them. She had dressed in her formal uniform, her medals displayed, her bearing military and professional. She extended her hand in the human gesture of greeting. "Admiral," she said, "welcome to New Horizon. We are prepared to show you everything you wish to see." Looked at her hand for a moment, then accepted the gesture. His grip was firm. "Commander Hayes, I have read your military files. You have an interesting tactical record. I look forward to understanding how that record was achieved." "We are ready to demonstrate," replied. Over the next 4 days, the inspection team was given complete access to human military operations. They observed training exercises. They watched pilots practice combat maneuvers. They examined weapons systems and defensive technologies. They interviewed soldiers, engineers, and commanders. They reviewed battle footage and tactical reports. Admiral remained skeptical throughout most of this. His experts kept talking about how human weapons were underpowered, how human tactics violated standard military doctrine, how the results made no logical sense based on established technology assessments. Then came the simulation chamber. Had arranged for Lieutenant Sarah, one of the best human combat pilots, to undergo an evaluation. Sarah would face an advanced Imperial drone system in a simulated combat scenario. The drone was equipped with technologies far superior to any human fighter. The simulation was designed to be unwinnable. Sarah would face overwhelming odds, superior weapons, and tactics she could not predict. Sarah sat in the pilot's seat of the simulator, feeling the weight of the moment. Through the viewport screens, she could see Admiral and his team observing from the control room. They had expressions that said they already knew what would happen. They had already decided humans could not compete. The simulation began. Sarah engaged the drone. At first, everything went as expected. The drone's weapons were better. Its response times were faster. Its defensive shields held easily against her attacks. Sarah took heavy fire. Her shield began to weaken. Then something happened that was not expected. Sarah did not retreat. She did not try to escape. Instead, she disabled her shield generator completely and pushed her engines to maximum power. The move made no sense according to military protocol. Her shields were gone. She had no defense. A good pilot would have fled. A smart pilot would have surrendered. Sarah did neither. Instead, Sarah used her damaged ship as a weapon. She overloaded her electromagnetic systems and released massive pulses of chaotic energy. The energy damaged her own ship terribly, but it did something more important. It created interference patterns that disrupted the drone's sensor systems. The drone lost targeting. Its weapons misfired. Sarah flew through the chaos, using her intuition and experience rather than computers to navigate. Then she found the drone's weak point, a design flaw that the drone's creators thought was protected. Using an unconventional approach that no combat computer would suggest, Sarah positioned her ship perfectly. One final volley of weapons fire struck exactly where it mattered. The drone's systems failed. The simulation ended. Sarah sat in the pilot's seat, breathing hard, covered in sweat. She had won against impossible odds by refusing to accept the limits that the mission parameters suggested. In the observation room, Admiral was silent. He watched the battle recording again, then again. His face showed confusion, then realization, then something that might have been respect. He looked at Commander Hayes. "Explain how a pilot learns to do that," he said quietly. "Humans learn through experience and failure," replied. "We make mistakes. We learn from those mistakes. We try again. We do not give up because a computer says we should." Sarah has failed in training scenarios hundreds of times. Each time she learned something. This time all that learning came together in a moment of insight. Stared at the recording of Sarah's victory. "In 300 years of military service, I have never seen anything like this," he said. "Your weapons are inadequate. Your technology is inferior. Your tactics violate everything we understand about combat strategy, yet you keep winning." "We win because we refuse to accept defeat," said simply. "We win because we think differently. We win because we value things beyond just military advantage. We protect our people. We protect our families. We refuse to let others tell us what is possible." Admiral turned to face her directly. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of decision. "I will tell the Council what I have learned," he said. "The human reports are accurate. Your weapons are not advanced. Your technology is standard. But humans are dangerous in ways the Council does not understand. You are not a threat because of weapons or power. You are a threat because you think like nothing else in this galaxy. You solve problems in ways no computer predicts. You persist when persistence is impossible. The Council must know this. Will that recommendation put us in danger? Asked carefully. Yes, said, it will. Some on the Council will want to restrict you further, control you more, perhaps eliminate you. But some will see what I see. A species that brings something unique to the galaxy, a species worth having as an ally rather than a subject. Galactic Empire Council chamber was silent as Admiral delivered his final report. The footage from New Horizon played across the massive screens. Sarah's impossible victory. The training exercises showing human courage and adaptation. The interviews with human soldiers, explaining why they fought the way they fought. His words were clear and direct. He did not hide anything. He explained what he had seen and what it meant. When he finished, he stepped back and waited for the Council to respond. The first voice was the military leader. Based on this report, I propose immediate military restrictions on human colonial operations. These people are too unpredictable. They are a liability to the security of the Empire. With respect, Council member, said Shen, the scientist, the report shows humans are unpredictable, yes, but in ways that benefit the Empire. When they face threats, they eliminate those threats. When they face problems, they solve them. When they face impossible odds, they succeed anyway. These are qualities the Empire needs. Vex Solon leaned back in his chair. The question before us is simple. Do we restrict humans further? Do we maintain the current system? Or do we change human status in the Empire? Each option carries consequences. For hours, the Council debated. Some supported restriction. Some favored maintaining current status. But gradually, a new consensus began to form. A faction of younger Council members, led by a new representative named, proposed something different. I propose, said, that we elevate humanity from colonial status to associate partner status. This would grant them greater autonomy, better technology sharing, and formal representation in this Council. In return, we would have formal access to their tactical thinking. We would benefit from their approach to problem solving. We would build an alliance rather than maintain dominance. Vex Solon considered this. Such elevation would change the power balance of the Empire. Yes, agreed. It would. But the human reports show we are already changed. We simply did not know it. Better to recognize this change formally than to fight against what is already happening. The vote took time. The debate continued. Arguments for restriction and arguments for partnership were made repeatedly, but eventually a narrow majority voted in favor of his proposal. Humanity would be elevated, not to full equality but to associate partner status. It was not everything, but it was something extraordinary. Back on New Horizon, the news reached Commander Hayes and in the command center. They sat in shock as the official message was decoded and read aloud. When it finished, looked at. We did it, he said quietly. We actually did it. Smiled, but her expression was serious. We did not do it with weapons or power, she said. We did it by being honest. We showed them who we are. We refused to hide our nature, and they respected that enough to accept us as true partners. Ambassador James Collins received the news at the Imperial capital, surrounded by human diplomatic staff. When he read the Council's decision, tears came to his eyes. Not tears of victory, but tears of understanding. The Empire had not changed because humans were stronger or more advanced. The Empire had changed because humans had refused to accept being less than they were. Days later on New Horizon, the colony held a celebration. People gathered in the central plaza as news of the status elevation was announced. Humans would have representation on the Galactic Council. Humans would have access to better technology. Humans would be recognized as true partners in the Empire, not just colonial subjects. But in quiet moments, thought about what this really meant. It meant responsibility. It meant that the entire galaxy would be watching humanity. It meant that humans could not fail, because failure would hurt not just their colony, but their entire species' future in the Empire. She stood on the observation platform at night, looking up at the stars. Somewhere out there was the Galactic Empire, vast and ancient and powerful. And somewhere within it, humans had found their place, not through conquest or superior technology, but through something deeper, through courage, through adaptability, through the stubborn human refusal to accept defeat. The future was uncertain. New challenges would come. The Empire might not always respect this new partnership, but humans had proven something important. They had proven that spirit and determination could matter as much as weapons and power. They had proven that in a galaxy of advanced technology and ancient civilizations, the human capacity to think differently and act boldly was a weapon all its own. The stars shone overhead and stood beside on the observation platform. Together they looked out at their home and understood something fundamental. Humanity's greatest strength had never been in their weapons. It had always been in their hearts and minds. And now, finally, the Galactic Empire was beginning to understand that too. Nodded slowly, she had known that truth was dangerous, but she had also known that hiding would be worse. Humans had nothing to hide, and she had shown Admiral exactly who humans were. In the command centers of the Galactic Empire, military analysts were watching the battle footage in shock and confusion. The impossible had just happened, and it would change everything. Indeed,